Sin City. Saturday night. Fight night. Any given weekend, this place is the entertainment capital of the world. When combat sports shines brightest on the Las Vegas Strip. Boxing and mixed martial arts need some new voices. And Franchise Sports Media got them for you. Join Kalani Lua and Griff and Kalani each week as they bring you news and hot takes from inside the octagon and the ring. Get your popcorn ready. It's showtime. FSM's main event starts right now.
What's going on, fight fans? Thank you guys for tuning in to another edition of the main event right here on Franchise Sports Media. I'm Kalani Lua.
I'm Griff and Kalani.
Apparently, Griff and Kalani doesn't know anything about culture because before we get into the fights, Griff, did you say you've never seen Die Hard?
Not once.
Not with any of them?
No.
Now, granted, we are on Die Hard 27. How have you not seen? You have failed in life. First off, let me just get this straight. He never even saw John Wick until recently. None of the John Wicks. And now he's never seen Die Hard. Griff, what the hell is wrong with you?
There's a common theme here. I don't like the Fast and Furious. I just saw John Wick. I'm not big into these action, big old, movies, I like a nice story. I like some real details.
What you like, Beauty and the Beast? Twilight?
That one made you cry a little. Twilight, it's okay. But I'm telling you, brother, those movies aren't worth it to me. I just don't want to spend my money to go watch Bruce Willis act like he's not 82 years old. I don't want to see it.
First off, let's be fair. The first three Die Hards,
okay,
he was of decent age to play that role. Let's not act like he was 89 in every single one of them. The fourth one kind of made a little bit of sense. A little bit far out there, but okay, he's the older veteran meeting the younger generation. Okay. But to not have seen any of them, I get if you tell me all the Fast and Furious films, they're up to 2,700 right now, if they lost you along the way. I totally get that. If some of them just ain't your jive. I personally think Fast 9 was horrible. But you haven't seen any of them. And up until recently, thanks to somebody on this show who gave you the DVDs with all three of them on them, you never even saw John Wick with the main Keanu Reeves. What is wrong with you?
That's the only one of these movies that I'm actually fine with, that I actually took the time to watch. It was an artistic movie. John Wick, Keanu Reeves is okay. That one was decent. But the rest of them are garbage. They're absolute hot garbage. Every one of those goddamn Vin Diesel movies, garbage. And I won't even know say the title. Not worth it.
Again, I will agree with you that to an extent, some of the Fast Furious movies did that. Mm-hmm. But I would not sit and I would stand up and tell you Die Hard is an American classic. First off, greatest Christmas movie ever made. Second off, it is John McClane saving the world. Saving the Nakatomi building. And you gonna sit here and say it's hot garbage? Let me just say this. For any of you out there, man, woman, child, I don't care. If anybody in your life, if you are of a certain age, let's say, I'm gonna give you this. If you are 25 years old and older and you've never seen Die Hard, the people in your life have failed you. You've never seen John Wick, the people in your life have failed you. I'm not saying you have to love these movies. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying they have to be your all-time classics. Not at all. I personally do believe there are movies you have to see at least once.
I agree.
Good or bad, you gotta see it. That's like saying, to an extent, I've never seen Gone with the Wind. I've never seen Titanic.
That's a good one.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's more of your eye. Let me get this right. You'll see Titanic. You'll probably go out there and see it when they re-release it in theaters, but you won't watch Die Hard?
I'm gonna go see it in 3D. It's gonna be fire. All right, that movie has heart. That boy had Leo DiCaprio in his prime. That movie had a big old boat getting sunk. That was dope. It was a good movie. Whereas Fast and Furious, they're going to the moon in their cars.
First off, that's the ninth one.
Hold on now. They're bringing on John Cena as his long lost brother. This is ridiculous. I ain't wasting my money on this.
But you're wasting on Leonardo DiCaprio, some homeless dude that works his way up because he could draw a painting of Kate Henslet, who was a two-timer anyways, okay? Let's get that out the way. She was two-timing the man with money. She was going out with him, and let's be honest, you only show it from one perspective. You show it from the other perspective, she was a hoe.
We don't shame here on the main event.
You know what? Hold on. Griff, you just said it. the main event. Let's get back to it,
Let's
okay?
get back to it.
Because we certainly had ourselves a good fight in a doozy one. Down under, mates. UFC 284, Alexander Volkanovski in his backyard, stepping up to 155 to take on Islam Makhachev. Pound for pound number 1, Alexander. Pound for pound number 2, Islam. Featherweight king, Alexander. Lightweight, new champion, Islam. They went at it, 5-round war. Griff, take it away.
Oof. The outcry after this fight is finally done with and the results are out. People are not happy. And you know why they're not happy?
Why's that?
Because someone is still the pound for pound number 1 on this roster.
Ozzy, Ozzy, Ozzy!
Ozzy boy, that's right.
In a losing effort, by the way.
In a losing effort.
Islam Makhachev gets the majority unanimous decision, the unanimous decision over Alexander Volkanovski. 5-round war that these two went at back and forth. Go ahead.
Oh my goodness. I mean, we'll probably talk about that a little later, but the overall fight in itself, I thought a couple things. One, Alex Volkanovski at a point was maybe one of the most hated guys on the UFC roster due to what he did to Max Holloway and the allegations that people thought Holloway was getting cheated. And now to this point where he might be one of the most beloved. Everybody loves this man. I mean, watching on Saturday night, him coming out into the Rack Arena, and he's coming out to Men at Work, Down Under. I come from a land down under. That was fire, all right? And then he comes out and he puts out this performance against Islam Makhachev, who's this big, scary Dagestani man.
Yeah.
But then he goes out, and instead of getting walloped, instead of getting submitted in the first few rounds, he goes out there, and he's, even with Islam on his back, you got Volkanovski just hitting him from the back with a backhand, talking that mess to him.
Saying, this is what you got? This is it? This is all you got? You just holding me here. You're trying to survive. He said some other words too, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
He was just trying to survive. I mean, that was so much fun to watch.
Very much so.
And so then in the end, Islam gets the win. And you know what? It's fair. It's fair. Watching that fight, I think right afterwards I was trying to make the claim that Volkanovski had won. But after looking back and after kind of really taking some time about it, I think it's fair that Islam got the victory. Unanimous decision or not, that's to be debated. But it was fair that Islam got the victory. But Volkanovski keeping his pound for pound ranking and things kind of go on as if it almost never happened. I am mad at it.
You know, man from down under, but don't know yippee-ki-yay is disturbing. But nonetheless, Alexander Volkanovski took on a challenge. He said, okay, that's one of the scariest dudes on the entire roster. I'll fight the big fight. I'll step up. He went out there and did it, and he put forth a tremendous effort. He outstruck Islam Makhachev. He out there busted him up, lumped him up a few good times.
Oh, yeah.
Like you said, when they were even on the ground, there weren't many times where Islam was able to have dominant control in the sense of Volk was in total danger. Now, he took his back a couple times, and it looked like, but then we also saw the defense held by Alexander where he wasn't allowing him to fully get his arms right completely around him. He's trapping one of the arms, fighting off the wrist, throwing the fist back, saying, hey, buddy, is this all you got? Because it got to a point where, honestly, it felt like Islam was just holding on to a body lock on the ground. Yeah. He wasn't trying to advance position, really wasn't going for the rear naked choke or any other type of submissions from that position. It felt like, okay, I'm just here to dominate. And that's where, to me, I understand he's a wrestler, but this is where I have a problem with letting the fighter just be on the mat, tied up. I totally get it. If it's a wrestler, jiu-jitsu guy, you're in a position like you have his back, I get it. And I also get that it doesn't happen in 5 seconds. But Griff, we saw, I believe it was round 2, maybe 3. Volk got his back took with like 3 minutes left, and they stood there they were on the mat the rest of the time. Islam didn't go anywhere. To me, I'm like, wait a minute, you gotta stand them up at some point. After a minute, Islam, I need you to move, buddy. Now again, granted, Volk did everything he could to fight him off, but he outstruck Islam. He knocked him down. Some might say some of his strikes hurt Islam more than Islam's strikes hurt Volk. I really do feel Volkanovski won this fight. Islam might have got the victory. What is it? You might have won the war. No, you might have won the battle, but Volk won the war.
Right.
And it's one of those where we walked, even afterwards, we both said, regardless of how this finished, a rematch down the road, maybe sooner than later, is definitely warranted. We'll get into what's next for both of these fighters. But it was such an atmosphere and such a great showing by Volk. Clearly, you saw the size difference.
Yeah.
More so in height than you saw in body mass.
Yeah. I mean, Islam almost looked like he's got more of that lean muscle.
Yeah, very much so.
He's obviously the fighter coming down, and he's cutting. The weight cut is actually more significant for him, I believe, because as you know, Volkanovski was a big boy back in the rugby.
Oh,
days.
very much so.
So he's had the weight on him. I think big thing for me with the fight, and the reason I feel I'm okay with Islam getting the victory is because there were a significant amount of takedowns. Now, granted, we knew going in that Volkanovski had the better striking game than Islam. And Volk came in there, and we saw that man's face afterwards. Islam, woo, that was that.
Boy,
he touched you a little bit.
He was playing goalie for the Rock'em Sock'em Robot League. That's what that was, man. He was lumped up in it. It was like, hey, he's not a machine. He's a man. But Islam definitely got his. He was finding home with that right hand counter on Alexander. And there was a couple times where it looked like had he put the pressure on Alexander, he might have been able to push him back and get it. But credit to Alexander Volkanovski not allowing Islam to, when he would come forward, to just inflict his will and power on him right away, stifling it, whether it's moving out the way, throwing a quick knee with a counter of his own. It was a very excellent showing by both fighters. I walked away more impressed than let down. You know, sometimes you may root for one fighter just for the sake of, hey, I'll go for this fighter. But I walked away saying these really are two of the best fighters out there now. Kamaru Usman might have an argument, obviously, if either one of them wanted to come up and try their luck. But it definitely was one where I said, man, we really are getting two of the best out here going at it, and we got ourselves a 5-round war that was definitely worth it.
Absolutely. I mean, my biggest takeaway from the fight, when walking away, I became a fan. I became a fan of Alexander the Great Volkanovski. I mean, I can't get over the fact that he is such a motivational guy. He speaks so highly and confidently about himself, but at the same time, there's a humbleness to him, and there's a level of respect he shows every person it seems that's in front of him. And I mean, even when later down a day or two after, Dan Hooker tweets out some allegations towards Islam saying he somehow cheated during the weight cut. And then you had Volk going on the different shows out there, and he talked a little bit about that, and he said, he might have cheated, he might have done this, without mentioning Hooker's tweet. I mean, he kind of alluded that he already knew something about that. But Volk never even talked down to him. He didn't even say like, oh, that shouldn't be legitimate, that should be, that law should be scratched. But instead, he says, you know what? It was a good fight. I'm just looking forward to the matchup, or I'm looking forward to the rematch, and that's the kind of fighter that I'm a huge fan of now. Is Volk the Great?
Let's just put out there for the fans involved, the accusation that Dan Hooker was making was that Islam used an IV bag immediately after the weigh-ins. Now, the way the USADA pool drug testing is, you're not allowed to use IV bags anymore. The reason for that is they've kind of alluded to that IV bags can help flush out your system, possibly cover and mask potential substances you might have in your body to help for performances. Nothing's 100%, and not to say IV bags is the one trick all to disguise it, but it is part of the process where you're not allowed to do it. And it's been a complaint because they're like, hey, we're dehydrating ourselves to make weight. Why can't we use an IV bag to hurry up and rehydrate? Dan Hooker's claiming that Islam used one. Whether he did or not, we really don't know.
Accusations like this come out all the time.
All the time.
How many times has one fighter said to the other, you're putting a needle in your butt?
You literally have Nate Diaz after every fight he's not involved in. They're cheating. They're cheating. Even though almost everyone in his camp has been tested for steroids. So it's one of those where you just say it's fighters talking trash about other fighters. Dan Hooker, good fighter, trying to keep his name relevant, keep his name out there, potentially try to set himself up for, hey, if my next fight, I go out there and win, I've been talking this trash, maybe me and you need to settle this.
Well, maybe it's get his name out, but at the same time, I think it's the fact that Volkanovski, he actually has a very tight relationship with both Dan Hooker and Israel Adesanya, who were both at that fight.
No, very much so, very much so.
I think him coming out and saying that was just the fact that there was video of reaction of both Hooker and Adesanya after the fight was over. They were both devastated for, I believe, their, what do they call it, their training partner. Their teammate. Their teammate. They come out the same camp. They were both pretty upset about it, so I'm sure that both Adesanya and Hooker are looking at Makhachev, and they don't like any kind of slight that he might have done to cheat Volk.
Well, I didn't hear Izzy come out making any accusations. I only heard Dan Hooker, who coincidentally is in the same division as Islam Makhachev. So again, he might just be trying to set himself up for a future bout. Nonetheless, we hear this stuff all the time. Now, also on the card was the co-main event. Yair Rodriguez becomes the new featherweight champion, interim featherweight champion, as he submits Josh Emmett via triangle choke, second round. Alexander Volkanovski, the king of 145, he just lost his shot at 155, coming back down, take on Yair. Alexander Volkanovski, Yair Rodriguez. We don't have a date or location yet. What are your initial thoughts of this potential matchup?
I like it. I mean, the featherweight division has to move forward. They have to get action. Volkanovski went up and did his thing at 155, and I think that's something he could be proud of. I don't think he comes back to the featherweight really with even a loss. He comes back to featherweight saying, I did something that a lot of people don't even dare to do. And so I think him and Yair, I mean, Yair did his thing against Emmett, but granted, Emmett, one, did not look great during that weight cut. It looked rough for him.
It's tough for some fighters, yeah.
And he's an older fighter. He's still highly skilled. He's still, I believe, highly ranked in the featherweight division. He
just fought for the title. So
yeah, he's definitely no scrub. But I think I don't envy Yair going into this fight once this matchup is made, because Volkanovski looks like he's not only in his prime, but his prime is better than most. All right.
I mean, that's a reason why you're a long reigning champion, is that when we're in our primes, I'm just able to be that much better than the rest of you. Now, again, every dog has his day. A broke clock is right twice a day. A blind squirrel finds a nut. I don't know if that's accurate or not. It's just a saying that we say. But nonetheless, you've never seen Die Hard. So it's one of those where you just say, okay, Yair Rodriguez has been on the cusp of being that young prospect on the come up. Can this be a future star of the division? Some injuries derailed him, contract negotiations, etc., etc. But now he's, in a way, fulfilled that prophecy, saying, yes, I'm here. I'm ready for the next challenge. But boy, that next challenge is one of the best at 145. It's kind of like when BJ Penn, one of the best on the roster. Yep. It's kind of like when BJ Penn tried his luck against George St. Pierre the second time at welterweight. Unsuccessful. Then he went back down to 155 and just beat the next four opponents before Frankie Edgar took his title. Oh, yeah. So Alexander has the chance to go back down there. I don't know how long he would want to stay at 45, only because he's already beaten pretty much all the top contenders, unless this new crop of fighters are able to put together some wins and able to challenge him. Otherwise, okay, if I beat Yair, Brian Ortega again, which one? I would not be mad at seeing that rematch, considering how the first one is. But you know you're not going to see Max Holloway again after beating him 3 times. No. And to what you said earlier, I don't necessarily think it was more so dislike for Alexander, but that's how much people love Max Holloway. They love him so much that just a loss is, especially a close one. The first two were very close, especially when it's like, no, it could have been Santa Claus that Max Holloway lost to. You know what, Santa? We're celebrating on the 26th. How about that? We don't want you to wear red. We're wearing blue. So it could have just been one of those. Right. But Alexander, like you said, as you pointed out very well, his attitude, his demeanor, the way he approaches fights, the way he goes out there and performs, and just the way he carries himself, almost like a humble brag, like, hey, look, I'm bad, but I understand I'm not perfect. It does make him such a fan favorite. I'm very interested to see what he does back at 45, how long he stays at 45, and if he does want to test himself at 55 again, who will it be against? Will it be an immediate title shot once again? Will it be against some of the other contenders there? Will he take, let's say, half a year to a year off, fully try to gain the weight properly like John Jones did to move up to the next weight class? We shall see. It's going to be a lot of fun.
It is. I think, but just from comments that he's put out, he said he wants to fight 4 times this year. He's talked about how
it's all older.
I mean, it's talking about how he wants that title of champ. That's not just something that's fun that was on the table and he decided to do. I think when it comes to Volkanovski, he really does believe in making his legacy as big as it can be before he's done. And I think for him, if he wants to get that title of champ and not just get the belts, but defend the belts, he's going to probably pick whoever's up next in the featherweight division. I think he still keeps his eye open, sees his next opportunity. Maybe Islam, maybe a rematch with Islam. Maybe Islam loses the belt and it's a whole new person he's got to fight. But I think at the same time, no matter what, he's going to keep the featherweight division on lock, and he's going to, whoever it is, whoever the UFC wants to put in front of him, he's going to take him out.
If he holds on to the featherweight title, wins the lightweight title, and defends them, it'll be like some other people who have held those 2 titles in the past as champ. But nonetheless, there's also another champion, the bantamweight champion, Aljamain Sterling, saying he thinks he can beat Alexander Volkanovski. He thinks he can take him down and submit him.
That's foolish talk, brother. What are you doing?
Aljamain Sterling said it, and you know what? People thought he was scared of Peter Yan. And what did he do? People, now, granted, for TJ, a little bit different. He steamrolled TJ Dillashaw. We'll see what happens at 35 with Aljamain Sterling. But Aljamain has put himself in that category of, maybe I need to be champ.
Hey,
maybe I need to challenge myself. I don't know if he would be able to do it, but I'd be interested in Sterling versus Volkanovski.
Buddy, it wasn't a little Russian you had to worry about. It's a man with long, flowing pink hair who calls himself the Sugar Show. You got your hands full. Don't you dare talk mess on the Sugar Show right now. You better show him some respect. The number one contending pound for pound. You better show my boy respect right now. We're going to lose it. We're going to have to move this table. We're going to have to do something. Go ahead,
we're
say
going to
something.
move this table so you could do what? Sit down and watch Die Hard finally?
I ain't watching
Let's
that
get
trash.
something. Let's get something straight. You say he's the number one contender?
He's the number one contender.
That means he ain't the champ. Who's the champion? Aljamain Sterling.
For now.
So,
For now.
oh yeah. Oh, guess what? It was for now. All those months he had to wait to fight Peter Yan again. Oh, for now. And look what happened. Domination. Sugar Show. I love you. You really are tremendous.
He's just trying to hype on the trend, Sugar. He ain't no real fan.
No. Bro, I got a picture with Sugar Sean O'Malley. Well, I saw him in the casino and said, Sugar, that's back when I had my fro. Hey, man, they say we look like twins. The before and after shot. Let's get the pictures together. I really do. I really do. You know me, man. Ain't too many fighters I don't try to root for in some form of capacity. You know me like that.
I know.
But I do like me some Aljamain Sterling. I do like the Funk Master. I just love the fact that for so long he was supposed to be scared of the boogeyman, and he was faking that injury, and he didn't really get. And then he goes out there and whoops his ass.
That was a fun
Beats
time.
his ass. So guess what? Whether it's sugar, whether it's no sugar, salt, no salt, okay, sodium free, gluten free, non-GMO, vegan friendly, it don't matter. Funk Master's ready.
Is he ready for a fun-sized little challenge that once held 2 belts? He goes by the name, what is it? It's like a letter, and then there's just 3 of them. It's just a repetitive of one letter. What's it called? Oh, that's right. Triple C. Triple C's coming. The Cringe Master.
First off, you tell him to stand on top of a chair when he talks to Aljamain Sterling. You tell him that. Second off, you tell him he's got to lean back with that big ass head he's got. They can't fit in the same picture. They literally have to be on the opposite sides of the stage for the face-off because his head is taking up so much. I'm sorry, man. That's an American hero right there. He won a gold medal at the Olympics.
Kings on this show. It's short kings with the big heads. We support them all right? No hate.
Yeah, you're right. We do support the Sword Kings, man. Right up. Hey, man, always looking up. Always looking up, man. Always looking up. So we talked about what could be next for Alexander. What about Islam? He's still the king at 155. It is a deep talent pool. Now, listen, I don't want to get too far in the weeds here, but we know 2 lightweights who are going to be coaching the Ultimate Fighter. Right? So those 2 are tied up. We can't go that particular route. There's some other big names in that division. What do you think could be next for Islam?
I mean, the hype around Dustin Poirier seems to be getting up a little bit on social media.
He's keeping it out there, isn't he? He's keeping it out there.
I mean, if I'm Islam Makhachev, I'm just basically looking at my coach, Khabib, if Khabib will ever come back to his corner. We never know if he'll return.
Yeah.
If I'm looking at my coach's reign, and I'm saying, I'm just going to follow that blueprint. I'm going to go beat the hell out of Gaethje. I'm going to go beat up Poirier. Whenever McGregor gets done, I'm going to give him an opportunity, and maybe Chandler too. The guys that were there to be a part of Khabib's long reign, they're there and available, not necessarily to lose to Islam, but to give Islam a real challenge. I think everyone still has respect for names like Gaethje and Poirier.
Yeah, very much so.
What you say, McGregor, all right? They got respect for these fighters, and Islam's his options are wide open. But I will say this: one fighter needs an opportunity before any of them, even Oliveira, and that is Dariush.
No, very much so.
I don't even think Dariush is that good. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not here to hype up Dariush, but I'm just saying, give the man a title.
I don't think he's that good.
I mean, he's a great grappler, yes, but he doesn't seem like he's got that dog mentality of a grappler.
He's only won like 17. He's only won like 17 fights in a row.
Well, he's got Oliveira next. If he beats Oliveira, that's probably his first win that I think is title worthy.
Well, you know what? Okay, as far as opponents, he's definitely gone on a streak. And then you also got to think, if the guys in front of me are losing, then me beating them, wouldn't that just demolish me beating them? Like, because then you're like, oh, you beat Tony Ferguson after this knockout, after this. Okay, well, I can't help that I fought Tony after these guys. Well, you beat Justin Gaethje after he lost 2 in a row, or after this, or after that. It's like, well, shoot, I can't help that I was behind these guys in the rankings in order to move up, but they're fighting each other. Somebody's got to lose. He should have got a title shot long ago. Mm-hmm. He is on his way to trying to get one now. One more victory away, possibly, but that's a tall order to ask right there against the man himself. But Dariush is definitely one of them. Now, when you said he was going to take Habib's blueprint, I thought you meant he was going to fight 20 no-name guys and then come into the UFC.
Thank you. You finally said it.
My bad. I thought you were going to say that. Or I thought you said he was going to take on an Irish champ, put him in a neck crank, and then tap him out that way. Tap, and then go on, and then go on for that particular one. That's
the
what I
Irish
thought you
come
meant.
for gold later in the year. Later in the year, we come for gold. Just saying. Keep your eyes open.
The only gold the Irish are going to be able to go for is FA gold. It's a made-up championship belt. It's like the bad motherfucker. It's like the BMF title. It's going to be something that's not even on the radar right now. It's going to be the luckiest. It's going to be the highest pay-per-view one or whatever. Yeah, you'll get that. But an actual belt? Child, please.
We're coming.
Yeah, okay. You know what? You coming like John McClane did in Die Hard for Vengeance. Oh, wait. You don't know that one because you ain't seen it. Silence.
Did they get in a car and go to space in that one? Is that?
No, that's fast.
I'm also confused.
Look, when you start getting to I admit, when you start getting to the Fast and Furious films, they get out there. 9 to me was just as bad as Tokyo Drift. The first 2 Fast and Furious films, pretty good. The 5th one, because they turned it around.
The Rock?
Yeah,
that was the one where
that's when they introduced the Rock. Hold on, that's when they introduced the Rock. Mm-hmm. That one, little spoiler, kind of sets up part 10 a little bit. Right, but it's when they try to get back to their roots of how they were before. Because look, for any series, not even talking about Fast, any movie series, it's hard to keep interest when you get past a certain number of sequels. If it's not based off the books or true life events, it's hard to keep interest in it. So you do got to get a little wacky and crazy. You got to go bigger and better. Not always good. And they got away from themselves. Mm-hmm. And when they did, they reeled it back in. 5, 6, and especially 7. 5 and 7 are 2 of the best ones. And that's why I say, I'm not saying, Griff, and just like I said before, I'm not saying you have to like them all. I'm not saying you have to get tattoos of them and have to wave the flag. No, but the fact that you haven't seen them, look, if you told me you haven't seen Fast and the Furious, but you seen Die Hard, I'll let you go. But you ain't seen none of the Die Hards, even the first one.
Tell you what, I'll watch the Die Hard where Joseph Gordon-Levitt is his son in it. All right, I'll do that one. That's the only one I'll watch. Hopefully it's good. But with Joseph Gordon-Levitt as his son, I don't think so.
Here's the sad part, and here's why I'm looking at you like that.
What?
Joseph Gordon-Levitt ain't his son in none of them.
None of them. Oh, you know what? That's that movie when he's a time traveler and they're the same person. Now, that movie is fire. That movie is fire.
That is good. That's a good movie. But that's Looper. And technically, it's never mind. I can't give it up because you ain't seen it, and I can't tell you what it actually is.
Is Tracy Morgan in one of them? Is Tracy Morgan in one of the Die Hards?
Not Die Hards. He's in another.
That's a different movie.
Yeah, I would stay away from that. I would stay away from that. I'm not a fan of Tracy Morgan, but it is what it is.
Ooh, the early SNL days. Ooh, come on, man, an icon. It's funny. No.
Funny. Okay. Name me any funny Tracy Morgan joke.
I mean, him as a zookeeper. No, he wasn't on The Price is Right. Him as the zookeeper was a funny skit on SNL.
Really?
SNL
How'd it go?
Something like Brian Fellow. That's
something like that's all you remember.
That's all I remember. It was a long time ago.
Oh, it's so funny.
What I'm trying to say is
so funny you can't even remember exactly.
All I remember is
not funny.
It was a long time ago.
Yeah, a long time ago. My ass. You know, it was a long time ago. Die Hard, and you had plenty of time to see it.
Maybe.
Woosah. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for tuning in to another edition of The Main Event right here on Franchise Sports Media. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and go to franchisesportsmedia.com for all the latest, not just combat sports, but all your sports needs that you want. This is
Griff and Kalani.
I'm Kalani Lou. Till next time, fight fans. Peace. Go watch Die Hard.